You're listening to Midlife Side Quest, the Over the Hill Gaming Podcast. Here's your host, John Wall.
It's March 13th, 2025, and welcome to another episode of Midlife Side Quest, the Over the Hill video game podcast. My name is John Wall, and every week I bring you my video game impressions, the latest industry news, and tales of a Gen X geek, delivered to you in just 15 minutes. Thank you so much for tuning in to the show this morning. Sit back, relax, enjoy your bear claw, and let's get things moving. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Obsidian RPG Avowed. But first, let's check out the latest gaming news. And GameSpot is reporting that a minority shareholder in Ubisoft, AJ Investments, is planning a protest at Ubisoft's Paris offices over claims that the company has been, quote, horribly mismanaged. AJ Investments CEO reportedly said in a statement that Ubisoft needs to disclose a clear roadmap for recovery amid declining shareholder value, lackluster operational execution, and failure to adapt effectively to market trends. None of that sounds very good. Ubisoft's troubles, they've been pretty well documented for several years. And there have been rumors going around for quite a while about possible solutions, including acquisition. And I kind of wonder if the upcoming release of Assassin's Creed Shadows will be kind of a, Hail Mary pass, a last-ditch effort to right the ship. If it fails to meet expectations, I kind of suspect that we'll hear some news fairly quickly about what the future of Ubisoft looks like. And that story goes on to say that future might include selling off some of their properties, which would be quite interesting. They have reportedly had discussions with EA, Tencent, and Microsoft about possible solutions to this problem. So we'll see what shakes out, but I think it's pretty clear that investors want a fix, and they want it yesterday. I'll be the first to admit that my love of role-playing games it's waned over the years, quite a bit actually, as I've gotten older. When I was young, I was pretty into JRPGs like Final Fantasy, Lost Odyssey, Chrono Trigger, and later on, I would even gain an appreciation for Western-style RPGs like Fallout and Skyrim. But there seemed to be this trend as I got into my late 30s and then in my 40s, as my life got more and more busy and therefore my gaming time more limited. It seemed to be in fashion for every role-playing game to be like 150 hours long. And with work and household chores and taking care of the kids and spending time with my wife, I just didn't want to devote so much time to one game anymore. So increasingly my time was spent with other genres. But I still love a good role-playing game. So when I first saw footage of Avowed from developer Obsidian, I thought, that looks neat. But again, I don't necessarily want to spend 100 hours on a game right now. But there were 4 things that swayed me and got me to give it a try. First of all, it's on Game Pass, so, zero risk proposition. Second, Obsidian are the developers of one of my favorite games of the last decade, Pentiment. So that earns them a lot of trust. Third, the reviews were pretty darn glowing across the board. People really seem to be digging this game. And fourth, and probably the deciding factor, I read that it's apparently possible to beat the game in like 30 or so hours. Screw it, I'm in. So The Cliff Notes version of the story is that you play as the Envoy, a royal delegate from the Adirian Empire sent by the throne to the Living Lands. It's an island of immigrants and castaways who have all settled there when they had no other place to go. And tensions are high on the island as the Empire has begun to show an interest in it and is trying to impose its laws and its authority on the people there. But your reason as the envoy for going is to investigate something called the Dream Scourge. Scourge? A disease which is quickly spreading through the Living Lands and causes its victims to have a sort of psychotic break. They will hear voices and hallucinate, and in most cases, it ends quite violently. Your character is also what is known as a godlike, meaning someone who has been touched by one of the gods, which gives them strange abilities and is marked by some sort of facial deformity. And you can choose what form that takes during the character creation. And in my cases, I chose these like branches that are sprouting out of my head. So arriving on the island, you need to make contact with the Adirian ambassador and uncover the mystery of the Dream Scourge. I don't know why that word is so hard for me. While also trying to temper the hostilities between the citizens of the Living Lands and the Empire that you represent. So at first, the game seems to have a lot in common with games like Elder Scrolls, and that's not completely untrue. It's a first-person fantasy role-playing game. You've got your melee and your magic attacks, dialogue choices, skill trees, all of the hallmarks of the genre. And if you're a fan of those games, I think there's a lot for you to like here. But what really surprised me the most were the ways that Avowed feels different from all those other games, and largely in a good way. The first thing is the scope. This is a big world. It's large, but it's nowhere near as sprawling and endless as some of the other open world RPGs. And because of that, the game feels more manageable. I've yet to feel, to get that overwhelming feeling by endless lists of quests and objectives that you'll never finish. There are definitely lots of things to do and different paths to go down, but, none of them have been giant 5-hour side quests. Also, because of the smaller scope of things, the world feels very beautifully handcrafted. It doesn't feel like, it's a procedurally generated world with reused assets. Everything you see in the Living Lands feels purposefully and intentionally put there, making the immersion all the more effective. And nearly every nook and cranny and back alley you go down is filled with something cool to discover. Next is your party. And in some other games, you will get a companion who'll follow you around for a little while and help you in combat. But here it really feels like you're assembling a team over the course of the game, almost Mass Effect-like. And they're not just, there to help you out in a fight. They are constantly engaging in conversation as you explore the world, commenting on specific things that you see and do. And you can chat with them when you're resting at camp to flesh out their stories even more. And even during important scenes with other characters, other conversations, you could stop and ask their opinion on what they would do in that situation. It really creates a great sense of camaraderie, and they're good characters. Kai, I think in particular, is funny and sarcastic and has an interesting story. They're characters that I really like spending time with. Then there's the combat, which, unlike Skyrim or even Fallout, is actually fun. You can mix and match however you want, and have two different separate loadouts that you can switch between. So, sword and shield, wand and spellbook, rifles, daggers, do what you want. I primarily have been using a sword and shield, and I started using magic as my backup for a while before switching to a musket. And it's really quick to switch between your loadouts, so you can chain together some really fun combos. And most importantly, the melee combat feels really good. The weapons have a weight to them, and there's a nice sense of contact when you hit someone, unlike Skyrim, which it always just kind of felt like you were swinging your sword through the air. Usually in these games I have fun despite the combat, where here it is largely because of it. And that brings me to my last point, where it's just fun, and it wants you to have fun, and it doesn't want to get in your way. Do you want to respec your abilities? Do it. The cost is very minimal. If you're carrying too much loot and gear, you can just automatically press X in your menu to send anything you want back to your camp from wherever you are. You can fast travel back to camp to heal and upgrade things, and then it lets you just jump right back to wherever you were when you're done. They've just trimmed out all of the fat and the tedious work to create a lean, mean, role-playing machine, and I am having loads of fun with it. Fun characters, great combat, interesting world to discover. I don't know what else you would want in an RPG. So quickly, I'm going to sneak in one more game to talk about that I've been playing, Sugardew Island. And this comes from developer Roca Play, and it's a cozy farming sim in the vein of, Harvest Moon, or as the name subliminally wants you to think about, Stardew Valley. The main difference between this game and those that inspired it is that Sugardew Island just isn't that fun. It's my wife and I both spent several hours with it, and we both came away with the same thought, that there just isn't anything particularly interesting happening here to make you choose it over the countless other options that are available for fans of the genre. You're doing all of the things, growing crops, taking care of cute little animals, selling items in your shop. It's checking all the boxes. It's just I don't know, not fun. The story's generic. There aren't any unique gameplay mechanics. The character design is pretty bland, and the whole thing just feels very port of a mobile game, if you know what I mean. Maybe if you are so obsessed with this genre that you feel like you need to play every one of them that comes out, maybe then you could find something to like here. But otherwise, there's just lots of other options that are done way better. Quick housekeeping note before I go. Next week's episode of Midlife Side Quest is actually going to drop early on Tuesday, March 18th. I've been playing Assassin's Creed Shadows lately, and I'm going to be sharing my impressions of the game on that episode. So make sure you tune in for that on Tuesday next week. Thank you so much for listening to Midlife Side Quest. I really appreciate you making time in your day to hang out with me. You can catch a new episode of the show every Thursday morning wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can support the show by subscribing and leaving a review. So until next time, be well and happy gaming.